if you're a real estate agent that has been wondering how will artificial intelligence become something that is used daily, the answer may have come just this week with AI, meaning Apple Intelligence. We're going to break this down, talk to you about exactly where the advantages are and what we're excited about for the future.
Welcome to another special episode, because when Jimmy and I started this podcast journey, AI was artificial intelligence. And we all know AI also means agent intelligence before AI, but AI now also means Apple Intelligence as of June 10th, Jimmy. So we're going to dive into what does this mean? We're going to unpack it a little bit. And what does this mean to our agents that are listening to this podcast?
Yeah, this is good. What's fun is, like you and I have been talking about, is now we are seeing what we were talking about 6 months happening. We're seeing some the ability. I mean, we're still so early into everything with this, and I think what was the number you gave me? 25% of people have actually utilized or been on ChatGPT. Only 25%. So when we're talking about Apple here and the exciting things you're going to share and that we're going to talk about, from an agent's perspective, we're beginning to see scale happen now, or we're seeing opportunities that we couldn't have even imagined just a month or two ago. So I'm excited to really share kind of what we're seeing, what we anticipate we will see, and just how this is going to continue to make the life of an agent that leans into this even easier, and they can serve at an even higher level.
Yeah. So, June 10th came and went with much anticipation at the Worldwide Developer Conference. And first day, the announcement was made. And I always look at Wall Street and investments and how they react to announcements, because they're obviously waiting, what is Apple going to do? And as the information was digested, Jimmy, I mean, investors were very excited about what was announced, and we're going to unpack it here. So for me, there were like three categories of announcements. And I think you and I agree that eventually AI will be your personal assistant, and it'll add as much value as you want it to add. And for it to be a personal assistant, you need to give it access to your personal information. I mean, imagine if you had a human being that's your personal assistant. They probably know a lot about your life. Right. And it's hard now with large language models, ChatGPT, unless you go to it and give it information, it's not learning anything. And the company that's uniquely positioned, to your point from earlier about ChatGPT getting 23%, is Apple. I mean, last I checked, 64% of Americans own at least one Apple device. I have two. I have a Mac and an iPhone. And so who's best positioned for mass AI adoption? Apple is probably it, right?
Right.
And so that's where I think this is exciting. Obviously, this was simply an announcement of what's to come in the fall. The proof will be in the pudding as we move forward, as what we get. But I think there was a lot of excitement here. So the first one for me, I broke it down into 3 Ps. First one for me is personal, which means there's so much personal data, Jimmy, on our phones.
Right.
And unless you give it access to that information, it can't really help you at a personal level. And the thing I like about this announcement is they put trust and privacy at the center of what they're going to offer you. And you, as a user, can say, I don't want Apple Intelligence. And by the way, whoever came up with that AI Apple Intelligence play for work should get a raise at Apple.
Tomorrow. Right? Yes, they should.
Yeah. It's like AI for the rest of us. What a tagline,
right.
You know?
Yes.
Right. So, and so giving it access to information, I think Siri will be way more useful for all of us than it was in the past. Right. So giving it access to, so let's say you're visiting Philly. We're going to have you at Fox and Rich at some point. When you come to us and you text me something, and I can say, when is Jimmy Burgess' flight coming in? And I can talk to Siri, and it can go to my text, it can go to my emails, bring out the context, give me the flight number, go check if the flight's on time. I mean, all of those things are tasks that take time, that productivity-wise, I think personal, and the next P is privacy. And for me, if I had to pick a brand, even if I was not an Apple user, knowing what I know about technology, if I had to pick Google, Microsoft, or Apple, who do I trust the most with my data? I'd probably pick Apple.
Yep. Yes.
And that's why 65% of Americans have at least one Apple device. And so I think that's really where it's headed. So what were your takes on it? Jimmy?
Yeah, I think the personal, I just think the ability to just basically immediately just say, I'm not going to say it because it would start talking to me, but just have Siri all of a sudden have the ability to ask any question. So I'll use it as a practical, as an agent of things that I envision. Just going in there and saying, Siri, and using this artificial intelligence, I'm showing the house at 123 Main Street this week. Please give me the historical sales on this home, who the original builder was, and how long it has been on the market, and if there have been price reductions. And boom, 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 it gives you that detail that maybe you're doing or maybe you're not at this point, at a level that it gives you the ability really to provide information that would have taken us time to go find. It gives us that ability. Or maybe it's, something along those lines, like you mentioned about flights, or, hey, tell me, go back and look at my conversations and find where Rajiv and I talked about Apple Intelligence 6 months ago, and give me a summary of what we said then and what is truth now. And all of a sudden now we can go back and look at those things. Hey, go back and look and find the settlement statement in my emails for so-and-so. And it goes and finds it and brings it back to us. So these are the things where, as this artificial intelligence continues, we talked about it being a personal assistant. When we're talking about the personal side of it, the personal assistant side of it, and having the ability to just basically have it do tasks that would take time, the efficiencies on this side from a personal standpoint, I think are going to be dramatically better. And again, it's right here. And we're already utilizing it. Most people are already comfortable with it. And so now it's just opening that up in a way that I think we haven't thought about before. This should be super exciting for those that are looking to take advantage of this intelligence.
Definitely. And I think, I want to double down on privacy, because that's been a big talk with AI models, large language models. If you had to tell them, do you trust ChatGPT, Google Gemini, and Claude? And there's so many lawsuits out there about people scraping data and learning from all of this stuff to make their models better. And Apple has really put privacy at the center of Apple Intelligence. And I think a lot of the Siri stuff that you mentioned happens on device, which means it's very secure. And even when they have to go off device, they're talking about private cloud compute, which means they'll know your data, but they don't learn from your data. And once the data is used and in the cloud, I mean, there's private clouds and there's public clouds, and they're building a private cloud for you, Jimmy, and for me, for data to be housed when it's needed. And when the process is done, they delete the data. So I think they've really taken the extra step to earn people's trust, and they know the conversations that are happening. So I think that is also an important piece. And to your point, one of some of the examples you've used, I can visualize in the future it knows the apps on your phone that you've installed. And so you could also say, schedule a showing for 121 Main Street. Just talk to it. Because the showing app is on my phone, and it was proofed, and it talks to Apple Intelligence, and all of the things technology will work. You know what I think, Jimmy? One of the things that'll come out of this is probably voice search and voice computing will get a boost with all of this stuff versus me sitting at a computer and kind of doing stuff. And that's not going to go away anytime soon. But I think voice search is going to be interesting with all the stuff Siri is going to get powered up with.
I agree completely. And that goes back to agents from a standpoint of, this is why, whether it be they're going to decide to host a podcast, do video content, get active on their social media, do their marketing in a more, consumer facing way than the ways like what we're talking about, asking, for instance, the artificial intelligence to give you details on certain things is going to be great. You mentioned trust. I want to do this in a way that agents can really relate, because, we talk about that real estate is a know, like, and trust business. So now let's think of it from a standpoint of, okay, well then what does that mean for artificial intelligence, specifically in this case for Apple Intelligence? Think about it from a standpoint of no. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows Apple. Listen, there's a reason why they're marketing from the time they started with the Mac till now. There's something about opening a package with even earbuds, from them. There's something, they just do a tremendous job of where the people that utilize them don't just like them, they love them. You know what I mean? So they've got the know and the like already done. And from the trust perspective, that's the biggest obstacle that most people are having with artificial intelligence. Do they trust it? Do they know where this is headed? Well, there's nobody in the game that has more trust as far as someone that has the ability to do this at scale than Apple. So if you're betting on a horse, so to speak, on who's going to win this race, I think this announcement is just the beginning of what we will see with Apple Intelligence, personally.
Yeah, and before we end our pod, I think it's important to mention that they've done an integration with ChatGPT, but all the things we've read, it's more about when you ask Siri a question and it doesn't have the knowledge locally, it's going to say, would you like me to use, again, it's giving you the choice. Would you
Right.
like me to use ChatGPT to get you the answers? And from what I've read, if you have an account, let's say you and I are paid users, I can see a day where all our custom GPTs, you can just talk to it on
Right.
Siri, right? So they're giving you the option to connect it. And I think the way they've implemented it, I think they were very smart saying ChatGPT exists, but they could very easily pivot to Gemini, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not on device, it's more of a connection when they need to go access it. So I think they've set themselves up really well. And if the stock market is any indication, again, this is not a stock tip, but it was received very well, and time will tell, you know.
Is this where we're supposed to disclose if we own Apple stock? I guess we would need to do
I
that,
think we
right?
have to
I
say, look,
know.
I own most of the AI stock companies, big ones.
Yeah, no, exactly. But no, this is but listen, if you're someone who's wondering, okay, well, when does this happen? How does this happen? How do we get mass acceptance of this artificial intelligence? How do we see, the development of the intelligence continuing to grow and to develop and to just become more and more? This was a huge step, in my opinion, because now we've got the connectivity that was possibly lacking. Not everybody has the ChatGPT app on their phone like I do, but everybody's got an iPhone. And so this is one of those that, if you're an agent and you've been wondering how is this going to become, something that I utilize more and more on a daily basis, I think this very well could be a glimpse into the future of what's to come. So pretty exciting.
Yeah, and we can now officially say Apple has arrived to the AI party game.
Yes, yes. Not only have they arrived, I think they're changing. They're going to make a huge change, because if I'm sitting there and I'm one of the other competitors in this, I all of a sudden know I'm going to have to step my game up. As you and I've talked, I mean, they've quietly been buying these smaller AI companies at a pace that they're number one, as far as I'm concerned. As far as I know, they're the most active on purchasing some of these early stage AI companies. And so I think what we see today, I think if we had an idea of what they already know is coming, it would be mind blowing, to say the least.
Yeah, so I can't wait, Jimmy, for the Vision Pro. We talked about the Vision Pro
Yes.
and how
Yeah.
AI will be baked into that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when it gets a little lighter on your head and our glasses, I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot to come here in the next few years, and we can be more excited to go on that journey with all of you that are listening to us.
Yeah. So listen, if you're an agent out there and you're wondering, how do I apply artificial intelligence in my business to help me serve my clients better? Obviously, biggest thing we could say is go back and listen to some of the previous podcasts. You can go kind of scroll through there, see some of the topics, see specifically how to generate leads, how to build your business, how to utilize it to be more efficient with your clients. Our job, in our opinion, is to continue to bring you the information that helps you understand exactly what's happening and how you can apply it. So we hope this has been helpful. We'll talk to you guys soon.